Welcome to My Favorite Bitch, where we talk openly about the good, the bad, and the oh my fucking god ugly of raising dogs, and sometimes other non-canine pets, including the human ones. We might talk about poop, and we might swear, so fair warning. Thanks for joining the pack. Now let's get this ball rolling. For a game of fetch, of course. Welcome to My Favorite Bitch, where we share honest tales about the good, the bad, and the oh heavens to Betsy ugly of raising dogs and other pets. So glad to have you all here today, and I'm so excited because I have another Canine Convo in the Doghouse, none other than Bold Moves coach Liz Boswell. Thank you so much for joining us today, Liz. I'm so happy to have you on, and so you can talk about your favorite bitch. So let's kick it off. Tell us a little bit about you, where you're from, what do you do, and who's your favorite bitch or mutt?
Thank you so much for having me, Beth. It's really great to be here today, like from watching your videos as well and getting to know each other over LinkedIn. It's great to be here today to talk about dogs, because
everybody's favorite topic. Is there anybody whose favorite topic is not talking about their dogs or their pets?
You know what? We were in a pub yesterday having tea and we didn't have our dog with us, but the people next to us did, and their dog was like trying to come over and get our food and and they were straight away like, oh, what type of dog have you got? Because you just kind of know, don't you, whether you're dog people or not.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we've got Pablo, who's not a bitch, he's a dog, but yeah, so he's a Staffordshire Bull Terrier cross. We don't know what he's crossed with, but we got him as a rescue when he was just over 1 year old.
Oh,
and yeah,
Pablo. So is it Pablo his full name, or does he have, like, we have Moxie, but she's Moxie Blue Ewell?
Oh yeah, so he's just Pablo, and sometimes we call him Pabs and all sorts of things, P Diddy and all sorts of different things, like you do, yeah.
Liz, have you always had dogs, or is Pablo kind of?
Do you know what? Pablo is my first dog that I've had. Yeah. And like growing up, honestly, I can't tell you, Beth, I was such a massive animal lover. And I always used to beg my parents for a dog, and they were always like, no, they're so tiny, you can't go anywhere. So we had a cat, which we had for about 12 years. He was great. I had rabbits, guinea pigs.
Oh, wow.
We had hamsters, anything basically. So like, when I was little, I was in the garden with my friend Samantha. We used to like collect slugs and put them in a
nice.
a sort of like tank and everything, and it's just anything basically that's living nature. I love it. That
is a true animal lover. I can honestly say, well, we had pets growing up too, but mostly cats. We were in the country, and country folks sometimes don't take their cats to get neutered and spayed in the same way that maybe when you're living in the city. So we had a little bit of a problem with an overage of cats, but we had dogs too. But when you're in the country, sometimes your dogs, because we didn't leash them or they just kind of ran amok. And a couple of times we had a couple dogs that came home in the back of a truck of our neighbor because they got into the chicken. So that's, that is my history of dogs. I'm surprised I would even want them. Like, is someone going to shoot them? You've never had dogs, but so what compelled you? What was the mindset of you when you decided, oh, I'm going to go out and get a Staffordshire Bull Terrier?
Well, exactly, because the terror and the terrorizing of everybody.
Right.
No, honestly, like, as I say, I'd always wanted a dog. And like my husband, Howard, it wasn't really all that interested. And when I started my own business in 2017, it was one of my goals. And I was like, right, I'm going to work for myself. I'm going to work from home, create more freedom, time for myself. So one of my goals was to get a dog. Yeah, it's exactly right. It's like, once I've hit this certain revenue and I know that this is going to keep going, I'm going to get a dog. So we got to that stage and we started having the conversation and we started talking about different types of dogs. And I don't know if you've ever done this, Beth, and you're sort of like thinking, yeah, and we had very different ideas. I kind of just wanted this little dog, that could sit on my knee and I could walk. I was like really into Jack Russells and little kind of
Jack Russell. That's like total energy. That is a ball of energy right there.
I know, or like a border terrier or something. And Howard loves sausage dogs. The little Dachshunds. So,
bless his heart. I wanted a dachshund with our first dogs. And my husband and I both had veto power. So I wanted a dachshund, but he vetoed me because I vetoed his. He wanted one of those. I don't know if it's an American or I think it's the American bulldog, but the little, basically a barrel with the smush. Yeah, that slobber a lot. And I said, no, I don't. So he vetoed my dachshund. No wiener dog for us.
I know, right? So it is a negotiation thing, isn't it? And you've got to kind of like think, right, okay, well, being like a coach and things as well, I'm like thinking, right, what are the things that we both want? So we were talking about not wanting a lot of mess in the house, a bit like you with the slobber or loads of hairs and things, and then also not wanting a really barky dog and stuff. So then when we looked into like the Dachshunds and the border terriers and stuff, and they're really barky and really, like you say, energetic.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So we were looking into all these and kind of like thinking, what do we not want? And then we never even thought about a Staffy because I got bitten by one when I was a kid. So I'd had kind of like a negative actual experience of them. But we went to Australia to see our, Howard's daughter. So in I think 2018. And they had a puppy at the time, which happened to be a Staffy. And it was just gorgeous. And it was just, what puppies are like. It was full of of energy, but very loving, very, just kind of wanted to be around you. And so we started exploring and researching Staffordshire Bull Terriers and realised that they're actually really good pets, really good family pets to have.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Yeah, very loyal, very loving. And so we started looking into it. And then when I started looking online at all of the homes, a lot of the dogs that they had were Staffordshire Bull Terriers because people give them up.
It's so sad.
Them.
It's the same here in the States. We've got it's really unfortunate because, there's a lot of misconception. Just in general, I think people don't think, you put a lot of thought into what kind of dog do I want? Do I want a dog? You had a lot of conversation, and I think it's unfortunate, but a lot of people don't, or they just don't know what to expect. And any dog, but certainly there are just an overrun. If you look in the rescue sites here, it is dominated by pit bulls, staffies. Yep, exactly. So it's sad.
It is. It's so sad. And honestly, when we started looking then, and it's kind of it's really sad. And then we went to look at the place. It's called Bleak Hall Animal Sanctuary, and in Lancashire, and they're just brilliant. And we went to have a look around, and we kind of got split up. And Howard went round the corner and was looking in this cage, because it's so sad when you go and look at them all, isn't it? And just want to take them all home,
Yes.
And anyway, he'd seen into this cage, and he came and got me and he said, come and look at this. And this little black dog was in there, but could not have been less interested in us. He was just like so
that's funny,
chilled out, but Howard kind of put his fingers up to the to the wire, and he came and just had a sniff of his fingers, and then he laid down right next to the wire, belly up like that, and we were gone. That was it. We were like, right, we're having him, he wants us, kind of thing. So we took him for a little walk, and that was it, really.
Now, was he already named Pablo, or did you? Okay, yeah. Awesome. That's a great name.
Yeah, and so they said to us, "Well, what are you going to call him?" When we were taking away, what are you going to call him? We went, "Well, we're going to call him Pablo because that's his name and that's his character," But yeah, I think a lot of people change their names apparently, but it never even occurred to me.
Yeah, he has since passed away, but we had a very similar experience with so about 15 years ago, we had a chocolate lab puppy. And of course, I had horrible guilt because I was on a project at work and we were working ungodly hours. And so I thought, oh, she needs a brother. So we had gotten her as a puppy from a friend of his who was a breeder. So we said, okay, we're going to do a rescue for the her brother. And same thing. We actually went in for another dog that we had picked out, and that dog was just kind of really didn't really seem interested in anybody. But right next to that dog was this cutest little pit bull mix. They called it a pit bull shepherd. We did 2 DNA tests on him and they were both different. The only thing that was consistent was a third pit bull. But he was the same thing. Like we walked over and he was just so vibrant. He was about 4.5 months old and he jumped right up on the fence and he was just, playful. And so we took him out, and my his test was if he could wrestle with the dog on the ground. And this little pup was just, belly up and rub my belly. And so we ended up getting our lab, bringing her back and seeing if we ended up having him for 13 years.
Wow.
And we kept his name too. He was a Samson. We just called him Sammy. And but I'm sure we can share some stories. So
But you know what was interesting is the second time I went up to walk him, because they don't just let you take them straight away. And the second time I went up to walk him, and Howard was at work, and I went up to take him for a walk. And we were on this walk, and I thought, I'm just going to give him a treat. So I got some treats in my pocket. So I got him out and gave him a treat. And the next thing, he got like so wired, and he was biting at my pocket, trying to get these treats and everything. Aww. And I was so freaked out by it. And I was like, right, I'm going to take him back. So I turned around and I walked to the end of this road. And I got to the end of this road and I thought, right, if I go right, I'm going to take him back. And if I go left, I'm going to keep him. So obviously I went left. But he wasn't an easy dog. He'd had 4 homes within 12 months.
How old was he when you got him?
Just one.
Okay.
Yeah, and he had 4 different homes.
Tell me about the so did they make I don't know how it is in the UK, but in the States, if you a lot of rescues, if you take a bully breed, quote, I hate the word, but that's what they call them, the like a pit or a Rottie or something like that, they make you, sign some extra stuffs. Did they kind of make you do a little extra?
I don't know because I haven't done it before. I don't know if it was any different to how it would be normally. Yeah. But there was a lot, and they had to come out to our house and check out our house and see what the fence was like, make sure he couldn't, leap over the fence and that type of thing. And obviously check out us and make sure we were going to be home and things, and he was going to get walked and stuff like that.
Now, did you have anybody when you said, when you started telling your friends like, oh, we just adopted this Staffordshire Bull Terrier, did you have people go, what?
Yeah, like not obviously, but you could kind of tell. Because, normally when people get a puppy, it's like, oh, it's so cute. And like, kind of got a bit bummed out sometimes when people were just a bit like, oh, but you can tell. They're like, oh, I'm not so sure about whether you've made the right choice there. Oh. But we loved him, so it didn't matter really. But yeah, I think it and also it wasn't the easiest dog to warm to because he's just so overexcited. He loves people, so he'll meet people and just be really over enthusiastic.
I can relate, Liz. I can totally relate. I have like the little
heels.
Yeah, exactly. I have the perfect little puppy normally when it's just she and I at home, or even with the husband. As soon as we get out and we meet people, and she's just like, oh my God, I cannot not meet people and other dogs. So tell me like about, those first early days when you brought your pup home and how that went and how you bonded.
Yeah, so like we did a lot of research, and we were kind of like thinking, how can we help him to feel at home, So we got him a crate, and we put like blankets over it and things to make it really nice dark space, so he'd have his own space to go to if he wanted to. And we kind of used that at night times as well, so that he kind of got used to a routine of not wandering all around the house.
Right.
He'd not had any boundaries at all. I think that was the main problem. No one had really taught him boundaries. So that was something that we worked on. Honestly, Beth, it was hard. I'm going to be honest. He'd bounce around the furniture. He was very mouthy. So we found that really difficult and we tried lots of different things to try and train him. And I think in the end, we realised that what worked for him was positive reinforcement and redirection. So it's phones and things,
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad that you say that, because, there are a lot of people out there. And one of the reasons that I really decided to do this was when I was in the early days of, just earlier this year, when I brought home our puppy. I thought I was so prepared, just like you. I had done the research. I'm reading the books. I had raised dogs before, and I was just unprepared for it. It's a wholly different world, and I think you can relate to this when you're at home. When I had puppies before, I went to work. They went into a crate, and I came home at lunch, and then I went back to work, and then I came home. So I wasn't there for that whole time. It's wholly different when you have a new dog in a new environment, especially one that has not accustomed to boundaries, who maybe has a little history, and you're home. I got depressed. I was like, what am I doing wrong? And that's one of the reasons why I decided to do this, because I would go out I follow a lot of trainers and experts on dogs, and there's so much great advice out there, but there are a lot of people that are like, I'm doing exactly what you're telling me to do, and it's not working. So I need to find out, what will work, because sometimes, dogs are different. So positive reinforcement is a great technique, and I use that as well. And pardon me, I'm shifting around.
Getting comfy.
But yeah, so that's
it's tricky though, isn't it?
It is.
Did you feel like she wasn't connecting with you?
Oh yeah, I thought because when my other two dogs, so our rescue and our chocolate lab, we were so close to them for years, and I had really forgotten those early days. But for over 13 years, you just develop such a bond, and I really was like, I don't know if I can do this. I really had thoughts of, what did I do? Why did I, did I make a mistake getting a puppy? Are we ever going to bond? And we have. It's wonderful. Yeah. She's awesome. I love her dearly, but it's not. I hope anybody who's listening out there who's going through this understands that it is perfectly normal to have these feelings about regret. Like, what did I do? I don't know what I'm doing. I'm lost. I'm, puppy blues or dog blues, new dog blues. It's a real thing. So.
Absolutely. Yeah. And there was, again, another time when we were kind of thinking, have we made a mistake? Are we the wrong people to have him? Should we take him back? We were in the kind of early stages, but I honestly believed that having him gone through 4 different homes, before us, I had a genuine concern that if we took him back, I didn't think we'd find another home for him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So tell me some of the things that you worked on, and where are you right now?
Yeah. So some of the things. So I think one of his issues was not, again, with the boundaries, knowing what could he chew, what could he not chew. So one of the things we did was, because he would just pick up anything. Do you know what his big thing, and he still loves it now, is tissues. So if he finds a tissue on the floor, it's gone.
Oh yeah.
It's like, but it could have been shoes, my husband's glasses case. So we looked into what were good chew toys for staffies, because they're vociferous chewers.
Yeah.
And I can't give him a soft toy, Beth, because it's destroyed within minutes. He's got the squeaker out and everything,
Oh yeah. Yep. That
It
was
was
my
finding
goal,
what was
Liz.
right.
I'm telling you, maybe it's a Staffordshire, because that's part of what the pit is. But he did the same thing. Like I would actually buy him from our local charity shops. For pennies, I would buy stuffed toys. I'd make sure they didn't have the beans in them, because those are, but that's all he did. He'd take the eyes off first and spit them out. And then he just spit all the stuffing out. And yes, he would ruin them in about 10 minutes. And I didn't care, because that's what he loved.
Yeah.
But I don't, maybe that's a bull terrier thing.
Yeah, I don't know. It's crazy because he just loves doing it. And so on his birthday, he'll get a soft toy and destroy it. And that's it. Christmas, maybe like one or the 2 times a year. But it's such a mess, isn't it? Cleaning it all.
It is. Yeah.
Yeah. So we got Kongs. So Kong was a really good toy for him. And I would stuff the Kong and give him that during the day to kind of like give him something to do. So they're very much got an active mind, have staffies. So he needed something to do. So if he didn't, then he'd get bored and be destructive. So Kongs were a really good one. And then what they call Nyla bones. I don't know whether you're familiar with those.
We do. Yep. We have those here. Yep. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Chicken flavored, beef flavored. So we always have those around. And pull toys are the other one. So it just gets that energy out of him, because I could walk him for like an hour and a half, and he'd come home and he'd still be hyper. So not necessarily the walk that does it. It's his mind that needs to be stimulated.
It's so true. I'm so glad that you said that, because I have heard this a lot. And this is something that was kind of new for me this round. I mean, I knew that mental stimulation was important, but I didn't realize how much energy that mental, using the senses and having to use the mind, puzzles and stuff like that, how much energy that really does expend. Because we've had to do that same thing with our our lab, because she gets bored, right? I mean, walks are great, but I let her sniff around a lot with the walks, because I know that does a little. I know some people are into just walk, and we do a lot of walking too, but we do a lot of sniffing. And then in the evening, we like it's kind of our wind down walk. I just let her do whatever she wants to sniff for 5 minutes on something. I just let her do it, because I know that's really burning that last bit of
the brain power, isn't it? So that she can then sleep and relax.
It's so important. And people don't realize how much that kind of even training is a mind that gets their mind going, but people don't realize how much energy that really expends.
I know. And that was a big thing, which I really loved, and I think did eventually help me to bond with Pablo, is training him. And obviously as a coach, I love doing that. So he couldn't even shake a paw when we got him. And you can imagine he was a year old and didn't even know how to do that.
Wow.
Because he'd spent 6 months in a kennel. So, he'd met lots of different people and and everybody loved him, by the way. At the kennels where he was a bit of a celeb. And like we used to post things on Facebook group afterwards, and people would be like, Pablo. And he was a bit of a celeb. But he's very aloof, But yeah, the training. So I kind of taught him the, shake a paw, sit down, stay, all of those kind of things. So he's very well behaved. He's very obedient, but he just gets overexcited.
So how do you manage your walks? So you said even after he's walked for a ton, he still is kind of all ramped up. So how do you manage? I imagine that on the walks, he's probably got a lot of energy too. So
yeah. And to be honest, it's a real challenge for me is walking him even now, because he still does. And I don't know how to kind of manage that. Still, even now, he can see a dog and just get really overexcited. I do try the distraction technique and kind of giving him treats or something to try and distract him, and he's definitely got better. But one of the big things is just giving him space, making sure, because if he gets too close to a dog, he just gets overexcited, and then he gets kind of reactive, and everyone thinks he's crazy, and then it perpetuates the message about staffies.
Oh yeah.
So
It's
I walk him
it's
in
such a
places.
common thing too. I mean, we struggle. Moxie's almost 7 months old, and she's not a horrible walker. When my now Sammy, my late pit shepherd, he had such a high prey drive that we really had to do a lot of training, and multiple collars that we tried, and we ended up used the pinch collar with him, and that worked great. But even with her, labs are, she gets very excited. She's not and she's not a horrible walker, but she does, when and she's a dead weight. When she gets her nose on something, she is like, I am going for it. So
Yeah.
it's even for us still a struggle. So I can feel your pain. And
Yeah, I
I've tried
know.
so many different techniques over and over and over again, and it's like they work for a little bit and she gets it, but then she's like, no, I'm just gonna, once they get in that zone where
Exactly.
they're triggered, or their smell or some sensory is getting invoked, it's
Yeah.
really takes a lot. So I
Oh,
feel your pain on that.
it is honestly, and it's that's kind of hard because I think when I was thinking about having a dog, and I thought, oh, I'll be able to walk with my friends and their dogs, and and we'll take him to the pub and this, that, and the other, and it's just not a relaxing thing to do. So I
Right.
do just have to take him for walks, places where there's less dogs, or at times when there's going to be less dogs about.
Do you find
Um,
people are pretty I mean, around here it's like 50-50. People are pretty good about asking before they approach, right? Is it okay if we come, if they want to socialize their dogs, which I
yeah.
really appreciate. So, or do you find that people are, keep their distance, or are at least polite about asking before they, just let
Mm.
their rampant dog on the 20-foot leash come running over?
Exactly. It's those things that scare me the most. The ones where they're on those leashes that they
Yeah,
keep going and going and going, and
the
I'm like, oh no.
retractables. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But 50-50 like you,
Yeah.
but I tend to now, I'll advocate for Pablo and just sort of say to people, can you put your dog on a leash, please? If they're coming over, or
Yep.
if they're coming nearby, I'll say, I'm just going to step out the way because, my dog needs space, and
I
they're okay with
appreciate
that.
that. You know what? Thank you, because there are so many people out there. First of all, people that do it. If you're out there and you're letting your dog run amok and just coming, or your kids, please do not
Yeah.
ever, the kids that come over
Or with the
with their
kids run over
hands
straight.
out.
Yeah, yeah, straight to the head.
Yeah, right. Or they put their hand down and like, please do not. But if I appreciate, thank you to all of you who ask first and keep your dogs, because and anybody who had, because I had one, my Sammy was the same way. I would have to tell people, they would say, is he friendly? And I would say, you know what, he's not unfriendly, but he's a little aloof, he's a little moody, so it's probably better if you don't. So I appreciate when people ask, and I appreciate when people who have dogs, don't ever, anybody out there, don't ever feel embarrassed about asking people to keep their distance. You are under no
Mm.
obligation to let your dog socialize with any other dog. Your dog is not going to be worse for it. Their dog is not going to be worse for it. You have to claim your boundary with your dog, and you know your dog best. So thank you. I'm glad that you are one of those people
Yeah,
who,
no, thank you for saying that. And it's so important because we can't just guess and hope for the
mm-mm.
best. For me, at the end of the day, worst case scenario, someone's dog comes over and say it's a little, I don't know, a little Jack Terrier, or it's a little Chihuahua or whatever. If that comes running over to my dog, if he gets scared and lashes out, who's going to get the blame? Is my
Of
dog,
course, right? Yes, it's
and next thing they're going to be reporting me, and then end of story. So that's my biggest fear, and I just think if that means I've got to keep him on the lead and keep him away from other dogs when I need to, that's fine.
especially those little ones, Liz, because I've said on this program before, the little ones are the assholes. I'm
Yeah,
telling you, it
little,
was funny because
little
when you
bit.
talked earlier about the dachshunds being very barky, I have one of my neighbors. They have a dachshund, a female dachshund. She's a little older, and then they have a big, I believe he is a lab, a black lab, but it's just a big dopey black lab. and he's, you know, very kind of menacing looking. He's a big boy, but he's out in the front yard with, he's got this big ball and that's bigger than his head. And he's got a chew toy and he's just like pacing, like, I want to play with whoever comes by. And that little one is the one that she is, every time we go by, she is out there like, always the little ones that are they're kind of,
oh, that's so funny. Oh, Beth, can we just talk about playing? Because
yeah, absolutely.
So I don't know what Moxie's like for playing, but we have a theory that maybe Pablo was taken from his mum a bit early, or I'm not quite sure, but he just doesn't seem to quite understand how to be a dog sometimes.
Oh.
And one of the things is funny is he doesn't understand about how to play. So a ball, you can throw him a ball and he'll get the ball and then he comes back and then he'll just kind of like chase around with the ball. But 4 years we've had him now, still trying to get him to understand that if he drops the ball, I'll throw it again. And sometimes I throw the ball for him and he runs to it, touches it and says, look, I found it, and then comes back again.
You know, it's so funny because I swear you're paralleling totally my experience with our pit shepherd, because he was the same way. Like, I could not, for 13 years, I could not get him. He would not tug. My lab would, like, she was instinctive, right? And this one too, this just instinctively knows how to do that stuff.
Yeah.
And he would never tug. I couldn't get him to tug. He would not fetch for anything. He would, a couple of times I would get him to actually catch a ball, like, and it took a lot of effort. But he really didn't really play like that. The only thing that he ever did with play was my husband played this game called Chase, where my husband would just go out in the middle of the driveway or the lawn and he would kind of get into a human play bow and he would just kind of maneuver around and just sort of run.
Exactly.
And that's all he did.
With my husband, yeah. Exactly the same. Yeah.
And he loved it. He loved it, but that's the only thing that he would do. I think he felt like he more or less had a job at the house because he was definitely the one that would be outside. My lab was just, just like the black lab. She's like, the whatever, and this one just watches people. She's never barks. She's just like, oh, in the tail wags, like, are you coming here to play? Are you coming here? But no, he was like, I'm going to, check out the border and make sure. And if somebody, so yeah. Yeah.
Pablo's exactly the same. And like in the garden and, he chases the pigeons away. It's terrible.
Yeah.
And if there's something's been in the garden, because he's smelling all around the garden and checking it all out. And the minute anybody knocks on the door, or even if he hears a van outside, that's reassuring though, because you kind of think he's a really good guard dog. I mean, he's great for that.
Yeah, that was the same for us. We knew that anybody coming in, if they heard him, because he was, I don't know that he would have ever done anything. He was kind of a little bit a big baby, but he certainly he would certainly deter anybody. But
exactly.
It's funny. It's very, very, very parallel, some of the stuff that you're talking about. That's interesting.
It's reassuring actually for me to know it's not just me, because I think this is the thing, because I've not owned a dog before, and maybe some people like your listeners might be in the same boat. I kind of think, is it me, and am I a bad dog owner? And should I have done better? Should I have tried harder? Honestly, I've watched all the videos, I read all the books. I've had 2 different dog trainers. Both tried to get me to do things that I didn't feel comfortable doing at all.
Yep. It's not just you.
This is the thing, and it feels that way, doesn't it? Sometimes
it does. Like I said, even having already raised a very similar dog once before, that's what I was seeing out on a lot of these trainers and expert sites, that I would see people, again, great information, really good training techniques and stuff, but a lot of frustration with people like, I'm doing everything that you're telling me to do, and it's not working, or they're doing this instead, or, and then sometimes the answer from the experts would be, well, this, why don't you go check this? Like I had a question once about the zoomies, because Moxie would get the zoomies so intensely and she would pummel herself into walls and doors. And I was afraid she was going to hurt herself. So I asked a question. I said, she gets in this state. Is there anything that I can do to kind of, and they basically said, well, just, you need to prevent her from getting too over. She gets those because she's overtired. And I was like, that's fine, but that doesn't really help me. I'm doing all of that. I'm trying to get her not overtired. I am trying to decompress. We are doing all of these techniques, licky mats and chew toys and decompression walks and all of this stuff. Yeah. And she's still getting them. My question is, I don't want her to hurt herself. And that's one of the reasons why, because people are frustrated and they're trying things and they're really just not getting good answers. And sometimes there isn't a good answer. Sometimes it's just nice to know that somebody else is experiencing the same horror that you are.
It's not one size fits all, is it, Beth?
Yeah, no.
And and it's like, well, not all dogs are the same. Not all people are the same, are they? So
no, not at all. Does Pablo get the zoomies, by the way?
Oh yeah, he gets the zoomies. He'll sometimes run around the garden, but his favorite trick is to run up and down the stairs in the house. So if we're sat in the living room, he'll just suddenly think, right, I've just got a load of energy. So he runs off, runs up the stairs, runs back down the stairs, runs around the landing or along the hallway, and then comes back, and then he'll just flop there and go, oh, I feel better now.
That's exactly. I love the flopping part because Moxie's growing out of it, but every dog that I've ever seen have the zoomies, it's like this intense energy burst for whatever reason that nobody really understands, and then it's like, I'm just done. I'm just plopped.
Does Moxie do the frog flop, with the legs out
yes.
the back?
Oh yeah.
Pablo does. That's how he's that's how he's actually sleeping on his side at the moment. But
I think she likes it sometimes especially she'll go on. We have a little tile area and we have hardwood floors. So sometimes I think she likes the feel of that cold on her tummy for some reason.
Yeah, definitely.
Awesome.
But we got the zoomies.
Liz, we could talk all day. We're kind of getting close to time, and I don't want us to go too long before I go into our zoomies round. Speaking of the zoomies, because
cool.
These are my questions that I love asking all of my guests. So I'm just going to jump into them, and you give me my answers. Where does Pablo sleep?
Oh, wherever he likes. But he mostly sleeps on the bed in our spare room, actually.
So do you still, I'm just curious because we're going through this sort of transition, do you still use a crate? Does he still sleep in there? Or?
So we have a crate, but we have a static caravan that we go to most weekends, and we have the crate there. And it's just a better kind of space for him to have that there. And if people come and things like that, he's got somewhere safe to go. But in the house now, we're really naughty, so we did all the crate training, and I think he's now kind of like just sleeps wherever he wants.
No shame in that game, because I know, and I should do a whole episode on crates because there's so many different views. We do the crate training when we leave. My husband and I, she goes into her crate. But at night we've started just leaving the door open. And what's funny is so she starts off on the bed because I go to bed earlier, and then she'll actually fall into a dead sleep. But as soon as I turn out the light, she gets up and goes into her crate. It's very weird. So anyway,
she knows that. They like them, don't they? I think.
Yeah, I think some of them do. But I also have a friend who, she brought her dog home. She has a German Shepherd, and she brought her dog home at about, I think she was about a year old. And she tried the crate, and it was a disaster. The dog got into a major panic. So she just never used a crate, and it worked out fine. So you just have to find out what works, just as long as it's a safe place, then, do you feed your pet table scraps?
Yes. And again, it was one of those things again, we were like, oh no, we're not going to feed him. And then it's like, well, we might give him some treats, but we'll put them in his bowl, we won't give them. And then now we've just been having lunch and just giving them a little
best
bit.
laid plans. So. Moxie looks forward. My husband comes home from lunch every day, and she knows she's going to get some meat from his salad. So
exactly. It's those eyes though, Beth, right? It's those eyes. I can't resist them.
I know, right? Especially when they kind of look over the table, like,
Yeah.
and then you feel like,
Or
oh,
he'll put his,
you feel like, well,
yeah,
like,
he'll put
they're
his,
being good. So
yeah,
pets on
yeah.
furniture, yes or no?
Yes, yeah. But right from the start, that was something that we said, we want him next to us on the sofa. That was a conscious decision that
Liz,
we were going to
you
allow that.
you are me. I'm telling you, we did the same thing with our first two dogs. We were like, you know what? We're gonna be, because we liked the thought of sitting on the couch with our puppy in her little
Yeah,
head on our laps. So awesome.
yeah, exactly.
Have you ever investigated your dog's poop up close and personal?
You know what? No, no, I'm not going to go there. I don't think. To be honest, I've not got the strongest stomach, so no, I haven't.
Yeah, maybe that's one for the husband. My husband won't. He dry heaves sometimes if
My
he's.
husband won't even pick up the poop, Beth.
Oh,
That's
wow.
my job,
Come on, Howard.
So I know exactly.
Is Pablo a Hoover or a Grazer? Does he chomp?
He's a grazer. He's a grazer,
Isn't
and
that
it
weird?
drives me nuts.
Really? Why does that drive you nuts?
Because I'll tell you why. I'll give him his breakfast, and then he'll sit there like he's, oh yeah, I'm desperate for you to feed me. I haven't been fed for days. And I'll put the food down and he'll take one sniff of it and then walk away and leave it there.
I'm telling you, you were in a parallel universe to me.
I must be, because then, right, it'll get to like an hour before dinner time and he'll go and eat the breakfast, or it'll be dinner time and I'll go, well, you haven't eaten your breakfast, so you can eat that. And then he'll eat the breakfast and then he'll be looking at me like I'm hungry again. And I'm thinking, how can you be hungry? You've just eaten a meal.
I had my first lab was a Hoover, but I don't know if she was a Hoover because she had another dog in the house. This one is a Grazer, and she does exactly the same thing. She will eat a bit of the food, and she does that same thing too, where she's like, and I'm like, I put like sardines sometimes in there and stuff that she loves, and she'll kind of give me this like, yeah, I mean, you could do better, Mom. And she kind of walk away. She'll eat a little bit of it,
Exactly.
but then noontime comes around and I'll hear her like finishing off her. I'm like, well, if you just ate it to begin with, but it's very weird. I've never had a Grazer. So,
it's so bizarre.
What is Pablo's favorite toy?
His favorite toy is his Kong, I would say.
Is it a stuff one that you stuff?
Yeah, but we don't stuff it all that much, but he just loves to pick that up and run around with it, and that's when he'll like play with Howard, and he's like doing the play bow thing, and like, he's got to run around or wrestle with him and things. So yeah, that's kind of like the one. If it's not there, he's looking for it.
Oh, that's so cute. It's like a little binky. What is your favorite nickname for Pablo?
I think most of the time it's probably just Pabs for me.
Pabs.
Yeah. Do you know what? I'm not really that much into nicknames as such. Like I don't have a nickname for my husband or a lot of my friends and things. I'm not really that much
shame.
into it.
That's respectable.
Yeah, but I just call him Pablo or Pabs, really. Yeah.
Oh, that's good. That's a good nickname. Who is the pack leader in your house?
Me. Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. So
so often is the women in the house that are the pack leaders.
Yeah. I think it's one of those, isn't it, where you kind of think who should it be? But I don't know. I think the dogs choose who's their pack leader. I think because I'm the one that walks him and feeds him, because I'm here most of the time. Yeah.
Yep, same here.
So
and he's just the litter mate.
Yeah. Exactly.
And who is the human you've had to train the most?
Oh, it's going to be, it would have to be Howard, I guess, really. Yeah. In terms of how to interact with, Pablo, or kind of trying to be consistent, around training and
very true. My husband does really great, and he's actually done a lot of training of his own, but early on I would just laugh because he would say, she doesn't come when I call her. And I say, well, did you train her to come when she calls? But no, that's kind of, I think, how a lot of spouses are. But thank you so much, Liz. Before we drop off, let us know what's the best way to get in touch with you, and maybe also tell us a little bit about what you do outside of being a dog mom.
Yeah, sure. So you can find me on Instagram. I'm at Bold Moves Coach. So if you can't understand my accent, it's bold as in BOLD, MOVES, and then coach. And I work with mainly women. I'm a career coach and leadership coach. So my aim is to help women to get into senior management positions, get onto the board. So I'm on a mission to get more women onto the boards of businesses. Yeah.
I'm going to have to call you.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I'll put some of your information also in the video and audio credits as well. But Liz, thank you so much for coming here. I know you also have a blog, so if I'll put that information in there too.
Thank you. Yeah. Check out my blog. There's definitely a blog on there about Pablo as well. So yeah, go and take a read of that.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for
having me on. I could talk to you all day about dogs.
I know, right? Well, we'll have to come back and reconvene because again, so many things that we could have a 2-hour podcast. I'm thinking about maybe doing a group thing too. I think that would be kind of fun.
Good idea.
But awesome. Yeah. Thank you so much, Liz, and everybody out there. Thank you for watching. And now go play fetch or take a nap in your favorite sunny spot. We'll take it easy. Thank you for joining My Favorite Bitch, where we don't hold back about what it's like to raise that little fucker of a pet. We hope you had fun. I'm your host, Beth Ann Campbell, and you can reach me on Instagram or Facebook as TheBean67. That's TheBeann 67. And also on Instagram as Moxie Blue Yule. That's my dog's site. She insisted. I'm also on LinkedIn as Beth Ann Campbell. That's Ann with an E. And check out my YouTube channel, Beth Ann Campbell, where you can find this podcast and other fun videos on the playlist My Favorite Bitch. Remember, we are not trained dog professionals in any way, so please consult the real experts and do your research on anything you hear on this program. We barely know what we're doing. Now go give your pet some snuggles, and we'll catch you after a good nap and some tasty treats. My Favorite Bitch is produced by Beth Ann Campbell and is a product of Beth Ann Campbell, LLC. All rights reserved. Go fetch, Moxie. Good girl.